Hello, everybody. Today I'm going to be talking about cybersecurity in the Internet of Things, which is also known as the IoT. So, IoT refers to the billions of internet connected devices that we use every day. So, that includes smartwatches and security cameras to things like your cars with Apple CarPlay or Android Auto and even medical equipment. So while these devices typically make things more convenient, they also introduce a lot of cybersecurity risks. So today I will explain what IoT is, why the security is so important, a lot of the huge threats that we can face with the IoT, a real world example, and what the individuals and organizations can do so that they can stay protected. So the Internet of Things refers to physical objects that connect to the internet and communicate with each other. So a lot of these devices contain some sort of sensors that collect information and may send it to apps or cloud services. So we typically interact with IoT just about every day. Most of the time, we do it without even thinking about it. So things like smart thermostats, they can learn our routines. A fitness watch, like an Apple Watch, Samsung Watch, those track our health, and even smart doorbells such as um, the Amazon or not Amazon Ring camera. They help us to monitor our homes from afar. So businesses also rely heavily on IoT through factory equipment, things like inventory management systems, and even environmental sensors. So as more devices connect to the internet, the number of possible targets for cyber criminals also increases. So many IoT devices do collect sensitive information. So things like your video doorbell or a camera, the health data from your watch, uh, location information, or even your personal habits. Um, so unfortunately, a lot of manufacturers are going to prioritize low cost and convenience over the actual security of your devices. A lot of devices will ship with default passwords. So you could have the username be username and the password be password. A lot of the time, they'll also rarely receive any sort of software updates and possibly even just use very weak encryption. So even if one single device does become compromised, someone who's attacking may be able to access other devices that are connected to the same network. So there are several common cybersecurity threats that affect IoT devices. So as mentioned before, weak passwords, they are one of the biggest problems because a lot of the time people do not change those default credentials. Um, Malware can infect devices and even steal the information and spy on users. Some devices can become part of botnets, which is essentially just a network of computers that are infected, and they can be used to launch very large scale cyber attacks. And attackers could also steal personal information or violate users' privacy by gaining access to, say, a camera or a microphone. So, one of the most famous IoT attacks was the Mirai botnet in 2016. So attackers had scanned the internet looking for devices that still used default usernames and passwords. So they were able to infect hundreds of thousands of devices, which also included routers and cameras. So together, these infected devices were able to launch one of the largest DDoS or distributed denial of service attacks that has ever been recorded. Um, so even popular websites were unable to be used for hours because they were attacked. And it just shows how even these just regular IoT devices that are insecure can largely threaten the broader internet. So fortunately, there are a lot of ways that users can improve IoT security. So obviously, the first step would be to change default passwords and use strong, unique passwords for every single device. Another thing is keeping firmware updated. So if there's something that was just found recently or newly, um, that's a vulnerability, that you can kind of mitigate the chances that your device will be exposed to that. Multi-factor authentication is another layer that you can use for anything online, and securing your home Wi-Fi network, and only purchasing devices from companies that like actually regularly release security updates, and even possibly just disabling features that you don't use can improve security. So looking ahead, cybersecurity is going to be even more important as billions of additional devices come online. So artificial intelligence is already helping to detect unusual behavior before attacks spread. Governments are also beginning to establish security standards for manufacturers, and many companies are adopting a security by design approach, which essentially just means that security is built into devices from the beginning rather than being added at a later date. But technology alone is still not enough. So users have to also stay informed and practice their good cybersecurity habits. So, in conclusion, the Internet of Things has transformed how we live, work, and communicate. So, while they offer incredible convenience, they also introduce a lot of new cybersecurity challenges. So, things like weak passwords, outdated software, and insecure devices can leave both individuals and organizations vulnerable to an attack. By following basic security practices and continuing to improve technology, we can enjoy the benefits of the Internet of Things while also still mitigating the risks. Thank you again for listening, and I'm happy to answer any questions in the comments.